what is up YouTube? This is Anthony with The Stack, and I'm coming at you with another deck profile. On the side, I got Ray. He's going to be doing some commentary. Go ahead and say hi, Ray.
Hello, everybody.
And this is going to be a black deck that I'm super excited about. This is one of those things that I was just sleeping in the middle of the night, and I was just thinking about, you know, Digimon, black cards, and like, what can I do? What's different? And then I came up with this idea. I took it to tournament, and it actually topped. It got first place, undefeated the whole time. Played a Lord Nightmon deck, played Lilith Loop, played some versions of Red. It did so good in the whole tournament. And I'm not saying this is tier 1, but I think it's super good for what it does, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Sorry that you can't see my face. Normally, you know, I have my face on the screen, but you guys didn't come here to see that. You came to see this deck profile. So let's go ahead and hop in. We're going to start off. Oh, before I get started, one more thing. This deck is highly influenced by some previous black decks that I made. So I'm going to put a link in the description to those black deck profiles so that you can see and see where I was going with this. Maybe you prefer those builds over this one. Go ahead and check it out and then come back to this, and we'll go over the deck profile together. So without further ado, we're going to hop into the first card. This is the main card, not the Digitama. We're starting off with Final Zubagon Punch, which is what we build our deck around. Final Zubagon Punch, if you didn't already know, has this effect. Main. One of your Digimon gets 3000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then, if that Digimon has 16,000 DP or more, that Digimon gains Blocker, Reboot, and Security Attack +1 until the end of your opponent's next turn. So basically, for 2 memory, all your opponent has to do is give you 2 memory, or you have to have a memory tamer that'll set you to 3. For 2 memory, you could give a Digimon 3000 DP. Ideally, that Digimon will already be 13,000. And when you give it that 3000 DP and it hits 16,000 DP, you'll gain Blocker and Reboot to be able to defend on the next turn. But you'll also have Security Attack +1. So this card is super clutch. It's a sword and shield for black. And I'm really excited for the many possibilities that it has now and down the road. So we're building our deck around this card here. We run 3 because I wanted to fit in the 4, but there's a lot of other tech options that help the deck just come together. So we're just at 3 because this is good enough. We only want to see it once or twice, really. That'll be enough to close out the game for us. So Final Zubagon Punch, that's going to be our first card. Ray, do you have anything that you want to say about it before I move on?
Nah, you already know what I think, but for everyone else, me and Anthony have been talking about Final Zubagon Punch since the card came out.
For real?
And there has not been a single deck where Anthony does not add it.
That's facts.
But the reason why he adds it is because it makes total sense to play Final Zubagon Punch in any black build, just because you're able to check for so much, as well as protecting your own board with just 1 card, just 2 cards. He has been able to choke me and at the same time establish a board of blockers that like I just can't get through without doing anything. So Final Zubagon Punch, right? We talked about how there's 2 camps of people who think that Final Zubagon Punch is trash, and there's the camp that thinks that Final Zubagon Punch is just the best card in the whole game. And I think that we both stand on like, wow, like Final Zubagon Punch is really, really good.
Really good. All right, so we're gonna move into our Digitama here. We run only 4 Digitama because we want consistency here. We're going for Kapurimon that gives 1000 DP to a Digimon that has Blocker as an inheritable. So we only run the 4 because we want consistency. If I run the Reboot one, then there's a chance that Digivolving up from it, I'm not going to get that 1000 DP because I may not have Toy Agumon, and none of the level 6s have Reboot on their own. And even so, I think almost, if not every Reboot Digimon, other than Ragnalordmon, is 11,000 DP. And we want to hit 13,000. Just a little bit of a spoiler alert, all of our level 6s are 12,000. So this is going to help us get to that 13,000 DP mark. All we need is that 1,000, and we have to give it Blocker. You might guess where we're going. If not, just stay tuned. We're almost there. Next up, we have 1 copy of Chumon. Sometimes I love to see him, sometimes I don't. He's really good against Lilith Loop and Blue for the most part. Just every now and then just popping him down and then slowing down my opponent for a little bit until they remove him. He does little to nothing against stopping Blinding Ray from yellow because he's just 1000 DP. Removing him is just like sneezing for yellow. It's like it's nothing. So I just run the 1-up. Sometimes I love to see him. Sometimes I hate to see him. But, you know, it comes up. So I just run the 1 copy. Then I run 4 copies of Gatsumon here. Now, Gatsumon, in my opinion, I think he's better than Blocker Agumon. Reason why is just that 3000 DP mark. I'm not really trying to swing with my rookies. My rookies are either for Digivolving up, or in Gatsumon's case, to plop down a blocker to slow down my opponent or stop their game plan for a little bit. The 3000 DP makes it so that he can stop 1000 DP rookies, 2000, even 3000 sometimes if, you know, I want to do a trade. I like that when I'm doing against the blue matchup. I see a jamming Vmon comes out, all I gotta do is throw this guy down and I don't have to worry about it anymore, that Vmon's not getting through. And so Gatsumon is just really clutch. I like what he does, and again, just the ability to stop or slow down my opponent's game plan, especially towards the end phases of the game.
Yeah, it also stops the game plan of a lot of people, because for example, me playing green, using Reflezimon, right? I can't just swing and get a security out with a Palmon just to get under Reflezi, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I have to do is I have to wait until either Gatsumon gets out of there or just sacrifice it to the Gatsumon and not get a security. So it stops the game plan of me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you mentioned to me that he stops Vmons, which is really important,
Yeah.
right?
You'll see it in Hexblow, you'll see it in like almost any blue deck would run Vmon. Like, all right, and we're gonna move forward here. So let's go ahead and go into our next rookie. This one's not gonna be a surprise to anyone. This is gonna be 4 copies of Toy Agumon here, the one that gives reboot. There's really not much to be said that hasn't already been said. He gives reboot, so when you attack with a Digimon, it will unsuspend during your opponent's unsuspend phase, making them safe from attacks from your opponent, making them safe from a potential Nidhoggmon play, or in some cases, it'll get your blocker ready to block again on the next turn. So yeah, Toy Agumon, he's a staple in every, I can't think of any black deck that's not going to run him, except for maybe like D Brigade. Other than that, almost every black deck has a Toy Agumon in it. So these next rookies here, I was very 50-50 on, so I'm going to put them both down on the same time. I did 2 copies of Toy Agumon from the black starter deck and 2 copies of Commandramon here, right? So we're doing 2 and 2 because sometimes I like having Toy Agumon out because I get that extra draw power, but other times it'll incentivize my opponent to attack me earlier, and that'll actually hurt me because there's not really a whole lot in my security that's really going to help me. There's not really like any Gaia Force, any Spiral Masquerade. There's nothing that I could hope for in my security that's going to stop or like shut down or harshly punish some early chip damage for my opponent. And we don't really run a lot of level 4 blockers for that early game draw. So sometimes it comes up where my opponent is just not in a position where it's smart for them to attack, and Toy Agumon's good. Other times, I prefer to have the 2-drop from Commandramon so I can hard play him, Digivolve up from there, and just turbo a little quicker. So it's very 50-50 for me, these 2 guys here.
Just like you said, very 50-50. I've seen it where you play and you actually hit it off, right? You're able to get a draw and be able to take advantage of it. But for the most part, it can be very detrimental if you don't have your board set up for protection. Mm-hmm. Right? Just so that you can get that draw, and that draw can be very dangerous.
It can be. All right, and coming up here, I'm just gonna plop down all of my level 4s at the same time because they all serve an identical purpose, right? So we do 2 Dark Tyrannomon, 4 Numemon, and 4 Tankmon. So all of these guys are serving a very identical purpose. I run 2 Dark Tyrannomon instead of 4 and 2 Tankmon because Honestly, that 6,000 DP really comes in clutch in a lot of matchups, just protecting him from being removed by things that delete 5,000 DP Digimon. I could go for Sealsdramon, which is a 6,000 DP blocker, but I want all of my guys to be 1 cost. Dark Tyrannomon's good because, you know, he can block, he's a blocker. It comes up sometimes where it's nice to have him, but I'm not really banking on him too much. If I don't see him, I'm not really troubled. I just want to go up. Numamon is good for that occasional hard play and then Digivolve up from there. Other than that, 1 cost Digivolve. That's all I care about from these guys. Moving forward, we're going to go into our level 5s, and we're going to start off with Megadramon. Alright, so this combined with Kaporimon is how our level 6s are going to gain blocker. Right, so with Megadramon, anything that's Digivolved over him, 6, 7, whatever it is, they're going to have blocker. Coupled with Toy Agumon, that's really nice to be able to go for a big swing, reboot, and then be able to block if you need to. Really puts a lot of pressure on your opponent, having the ability to be aggressive and defensive at the same time. The 1000 DP buff is going to be crucial for being able to use Final Zubagon Punch. Moving over to our next level 5, we have Gogmamon here. So what's cool about Gogmamon, I mean, so many things are cool about Gogmamon. Honestly, probably one of, if not the best black card in all of Digimon right now. So Gogmamon, he does multiple things. We'll start off with his inheritable, right? Because that's going to help us with our Final Zubagon Punch plan. He gives 1000 DP on all turns, right? So that's going to take our 12,000 DP level 6s, bump them up to 13,000. Now we're going to be able to Final Zubagon Punch. And what's cool is, too, is that if we're not able to Digivolve up from Kaporimon, let's say we have to hard play Numamon, we could Digivolve Gogmamon over him and not really stress it. We'll still have that 13,000 DP. With Megadramon, not so much, so sometimes you're going to want to see Gogmamon more than him. It's really a roll of the dice. Sometimes you want to give your big guys blocker, sometimes you want to give that extra 1000 DP. But what else is cool is his Digiburst ability. So it's Digiburst 1, and one of your Digimon gets plus 2000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn. So many utilities for that. Right off the bat, what you can do is, if you Digivolved up from an egg, you bring him out to the battle area, you Digiburst 1 3 times, and you'll give him 6,000 DP, he'll be at 13,000 right there. You then do Final Zubagon Punch, and now he'll be at 16,000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn, with blocker and reboot, and he's also going to get that security attack +1. So with him, you could swing into security, do 2 checks. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll do his Digiburst, I'll go for the Final Zubagon Punch, and then he'll be at 16,000 DP before I end my turn. I'll Digivolve him into a level 6, and then he'll be at 22,000 DP, not just because of the buffs from this and his Digiburst, but also the inheritable as well. And so that makes it really tough for yellow to just remove that card that you just brought in, and it makes it really tough for cards like red or, I mean, almost any color to try to swing without having to worry about losing one of their bigger pieces to a block like that. So that's pretty cool.
Something cool too is that Gogmamon, if you have enough sources, you can technically give protection to some of your Digimon from those Digimon that we were talking about earlier, Alteress, Nidhogg.
That's true. That's true.
What's it called? The other one that you were talking about that I forgot.
Shoutmon.
Shoutmon, there we go. You can give one of your blockers plus 2,000. Let's say that Dark Tyrannomon, you give him plus 2,000. He's now 7,000 until the end of your opponent's turn. If you foresee a Nidhoggmon coming up, then your Dark Tyranno is protected. Or even you can Digiburst Gogmamon twice and give that to a Godsumon. Your Godsumon is now protected. So
absolutely, that's a good take on that. So yeah, there's many ways that you can use this Digiburst. It's super versatile. All right, now let's start having a little bit of fun. So if you guys seen the previous deck profiles, this looks darn near identical to what I was running before. But here's the difference, right? You don't see any Sunarizumon here, and that's because Sunarizumon, the promo Sunarizumon, is specific to black Digimon. And the thing is, our level 6s are not black. So we're going to start off with 3 copies of Blitz Greymon. And so Blitz Greymon is, honestly, he's a transition card. He's cool for what he does, right? He has piercing, right? So If you Digivolve up all the way up to him, you do Final Zubagon Punch. A block doesn't mean nothing to us. We're swinging into security with 16,000 DP, whether our opponent likes it or not. We mainly like the fact that now we have a red Digimon in play, which is going to open up a lot of other possibilities for us. He Digivolves over black, so, you know, he's going to Digivolve over Megadramon, Gogumon, no problem. And it's really cool how, you know, you Digivolve him over Megadramon and Toy Agumon maybe, right? If you get that line going, then you got like a mini Ragnalordmon, which is pretty cool. He's pretty good early game, right? So if it's like 2-3 turns in, maybe even if you have your Memory Tamer, your opponent brought out their level 5 or 6, you bring this guy out and you're sending them 2 Digimon back. They de-Digivolve twice, and you choke them at 1 memory if you had your Memory Tamer. So that's pretty cool, pretty clutch move, but we only run the 3 of because that 4 cost is pretty expensive. We don't want to have to pay that all the time. And so we'll run 4 copies of our next level 6, Durandamon. So Durandamon is basically, well, he's a Ragna piece, right? He was intentionally designed for Ragnalordmon. He gives piercing as an inheritable to a level 7, and when you couple him with Ragnalordmon, you can Digivolve into Ragnalordmon for free by adding him under during Digi-Evolution. Basically, you gain 3 memory after having Digivolved, and Ragnalordmon is 3. But we want him here, again, because he's a transition to red. Conveniently, these are the only 2 black to red Digimon, and they're both 12,000 DP, which means you Digivolve over Megadramon all the way from your Digitama, and you're going to qualify for Final Zubagon Punch. And same thing with Gogumon, you do that, you qualify for Final Zubagon Punch. And so what's cool is you don't have to wait for your level 7s to put in work. In fact, sometimes you don't even have to wait for your level 6s. You could go with Gogumon. And I like to be able to do that in my decks. I don't like having to wait for my big guys to be able to do some damage. And so it's really nice to be able to have multiple options here on how we can operate. So these are our level 6s here. Again, pretty self-explanatory what we're doing. And then it gets even spicier when we get to our level 7s. So our first one is going to be BT5 Omnimon. Yes, a deck where you can go all the way up into Omnimon without having to do blue or red. You have a black-based deck, a primarily black deck. You have 2 red level 6s, and now you're able to use Omnimon. And so what's really cool is that he combos really well with the Final Zubagon Punch. Doing your checks, you do Blitz Greymon or Durandamon, whichever you swing, you do your 2 checks, right? You go into Blitz Omni, you swing for another 2 checks, and what's really cool is, and this is something that red and blue don't have, is that after having done that, he's going to reboot and be able to block, right? Which is super cool. He's safe. If your opponent, for whatever reason, gets a Digimon that's stronger than him, he doesn't have to stay suspended. And even so, he's going to keep that 3,000 DP buff. And so he's going to be at least 5, 6, 17,000 DP, which is insane. So you got a 17,000 DP blocker. Mind you, is impervious to most removal, right? So the only kind of removals that can easily get rid of Omnimon, or not even easily, but can get rid of Omnimon, is DP reduction and de-Digivolve, right? Any other kind of removal, whether it be deleting, back to hand, back to the bottom of the library, all you have to do is trash the level 6 that's under him, and he's chilling. He's good to go. And so I really like him in that aspect in comparison to Craniumon. He's just really safe to have in play against any matchup. You do the combo right, you go Durandamon, Final Zubagon Punch, Omnimon, gets piercing from the Duranda, all that good stuff, and he's pretty safe on the board. It's going to be hard to get rid of him. Needhogmon, even if Neospray Needhogmon, trash level 6 that's under him, he's fine. He's golden. We're just running the 2 copies of him because we are running other Omnimon. And so another Omnimon I decided to tech in is BT1 Omnimon. This is the OG GOAT Omnimon, the on Digivolve, delete 1 Digimon in every Digimon that shares a name with it. The one where you attack, put a level 6 to hand, unsuspend, and you can attack again if you please. This is, this again, it goes along with the game plan. You ideally, so you can't, do the same blitz tactic that you would do before. Instead, what you would do is you would probably hold on to Final Zubagon Punch if you don't have more than 1, and you would go into Omnimon over one of your level 6s, slow down your opponent a little bit. And if he's still in play, hopefully he is, removal is crazy during this set. But if he's still in play, then you could go final Zubagon Punch, and then you could swing 2 checks, unsuspend, swing for another 2 checks. Depending on where your opponent's security is at, you might even be swinging for game. So pretty cool what he does. He's also a form of removal where removal is very lackluster. We have the D-Digivolve 2 from Blitzgreymon. We have the big blocker that prevents your opponent's bigger Digimon, but in terms of like going into your opponent's side and removing something, it's not really a whole lot. So it's nice to see him sometimes when your opponent's getting a little crazy and you need something to answer their crazy board because yours isn't looking as hot. So yeah, BT1 Omni, super good tech. And it was actually Ray that encouraged me to run him instead of a third BT5 Omnimon. Do you actually want to touch on that a bit?
Yes. So the reason why I think the BT1 Omni is really, really good, part of it is because the win con of this deck is not to get into Omni, right? Getting into Omni is good, is fun, and it can definitely deteriorate your opponent's board, but to have that option for BT1 Omni to remove as well as be able to swing twice, and you'll see why swinging twice is so important in this deck later on when he gets into the options, but swinging twice is really important and really good in this deck, but it's not the win con. The win con is being able to get to your level 6s and take care of most of your opponent's security. You can probably see where this is going.
Just watch our last video. Just watch our last deck profile, and you'll be like, I get it. I get what he's like. Just wait to see. Wait until I show you this option card. All right, and now let's go into the next one. So this is going to be our last level 7, and you saw this coming. If you've been with this channel, you already know I'm running one copy of Omnimon X-Antibody. Let's go. This guy is goated, and now he's more valid in this deck than before, because before, if you look at the previous deck profile, again, link in the description, if you look at the previous deck profile, I had to Digivolve him over an Omnimon to get him out. If not, he can't Digivolve over any of the level 6s because they were black. Now, not only can I Digivolve him over one of these Omnimon, but if I really need to, I can Digivolve him over one of these level 6s, which does come up. There was one moment where I was playing like a blue deck. It was Imperial Digimon, and they were about to have game on me. And I just, I said, you know what? Let me final Zubagon Punch. Got the blocker ready. I did my thing, chipped at their security a little bit, and then I went into X-Antibody. He rebooted, became a blocker, and not only was he able to block, but you're also able to trash 2 sources to stop attacks altogether. That was able to create enough defense that I needed to stop my opponent from going for game and being able to close out the game myself on the next turn. So Omnimon X-Antibody is super clutch. Of course, he's a one-of. You're not always going to want to see him. Sometimes you'll hate to see. I've tried running 2, and it did not work out well. But when he does come up, man, it's just so hype. It's so exciting. And it's something that your opponent has to answer or watch Digimon leave their board turn after turn. Because again, when attacking, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon's DP. That's every Digimon. And what's cool is too, I did the mirror match, right? I played, not the mirror match per se, but I ran Omnimon X against a purple deck that ran Omnimon X, right? And so they went all the way up into their Omnimon X, but they couldn't delete my Omnimon because I had Vinyl Zubagon punched him, and he was at 18,000 DP. 18,000 DP, which means his DP was too high to be deleted by the other Omnimon. So even against like the mirror match, if another opponent is running X-Antibody, you're more likely to be able to save him with your DP buffs than your opponent is. So really super cool in that aspect. I love him so much. And now we're going to go into the spicy tech, right? So we'll start off with our Tamers here. 2 copies of Red Taikamiya. This is our memory Tamer, and this guy is going to work in tandem with our level 6s and just makes the combo crazy. Kind of like almost OTK-ish. Maybe if you have enough memory, it is an OTK, depending on the turn. But basically, again, you Digivolve up your line, you got your level 6 ready, Final Zubagon Punch, and you'll be able to do that easily with Tai, putting you at 3 memory. And then you swing for 3 security checks. Blitzgreymon, you got 3 piercing on your security checks. And then you go to Omnimon. He won't get the +1 from Tai, but he'll still have the +1 from Final Zubagon Punch earlier. You'll swing for another 2 checks. Your opponent they have to be ready for that. It's crazy how much pressure it puts on your opponent, and this is something that you could do as early as turn 3. If you got the right cards in hand, you can do all of this around turn 3, and it's insane, it's explosive. It could take out all of your opponent's security just like that. And now they're scrambling to either try to get to a place where they could kill you, or build up some defense, or do something, right? Because that kind of aggression is very explosive. And again, you're not only being aggressive, you're being defensive as well. You're protecting yourself after using the Final Zubagon Punch. So super clutch, super amazing. Red Tai really ties in the whole deck together. We then run 2 copies of Takumi Aiba. We're honestly just running him for the draw potential. There's not really a whole lot of options to draw here other than Digivolving. We have the Toyakumon here, but we can't completely rely on him. And Izzy just really doesn't work in this deck because of all of these colors here, right? These are black cards, but you're going to hit these cards very frequently when you do Izzy. And then, after having played Izzy, that's it. He's kind of done. So I prefer the value that you get from Tai Kamiya than rearranging the top 3 cards with Izzy, and it has paid off. Tai has really put in a lot of work, and Takumi, being able to draw with him, it's just nice. We don't play him to we don't play him to stop Rookie Rush. We play him so that we can draw. Our next tech option is a Delicate Plan. So we run just the one because it's nice that it comes up sometimes, especially against Security Control. I actually beat out a Security Control because of this card here. The combo is pretty straightforward. You go into your Tai. If you're playing Security Control, try to get both Tais out before you do this combo to maximize how much damage you do. But you get both Tais out. Try to get Blitzgreymon out because, some Security Control has blocker in the form of Shademon or Machine Dramon. So try to have Blitzgreymon out. You're going to build all the way up. Final Zubagon Punch. Hey, if they gave you enough memory, and that happens with Security Control, you could probably do 2 Final Zubagon Punches, couple that with Tai Kamiya, and do a Delicate Plan. And you're swinging for an explosive amount of security, and option cards are not activating. And granted, that also carries over to this Omnimon here. So when you go Blitz with this Omnimon, he's not going to activate any option cards as well. So super nice the way that works. I feel like this card, it's really nice tech option. It's really, you never not want to see this card in hand. No matter what matchup you're playing. It's always nice to have that safety net of, okay, I don't have to worry about option cards taking me out. And now we are on our last one, and that is, I'm just dropping dead center here, Breath of the Gods. And I recently teched in this card here. So Breath of the Gods it's very under the radar. Not a lot of people know what this card does. Basically what it does is face value, it gives reboot, right? Which comes up sometimes by itself, right? Let's say I didn't do Toy Agumon, I swung with one of my bigger guys without Final Zubagon Punch, and Mega Dramon's under and I want to be able to block. I'll do this, reboot 6 or 7, whichever's there, and they'll be ready to block. But I didn't really put it in for that. I actually ran it for its other ability. So it protects from whichever Digimon you select from being returned to the hand or to the deck. But more importantly, it protects from DP reduction. And sometimes when you're playing against yellow, that one turn really matters. That one opportune moment where you play Breath of the Gods to stop them from reducing the DP of whichever Digimon you have and being able to push for game on the following turn, it really does come up. And in addition to that, that's one of the main reasons that I ran it. And then, like, icing on the cake is that when it comes out in security, it says that your opponent's Digimon can't attack players for the turn. So it just stops them altogether. If it comes out early, then like your opponent went wide or they planned on swinging with a lot, they have to stop and do something else, which is really nice. Before, when I was playing this deck, I didn't really have a lot of contingency, something that could come out in security. Like, I knew if my opponent had board, then I was done for. Because there's nothing that, aside from this, there's nothing in my security that's gonna save me. These like come into play, that goes to hand, that goes to hand. And then I have some big Digimon, but oftentimes they don't really make that much of a difference. But this card can save. So it's pretty nice, pretty clutch the way that it works. It's super good in hand, super good in security. Wherever it is, I don't mind too much. Yeah, that's pretty much the deck. There's a lot going on here, but the game plan is pretty clear. It's pretty consistent. It's not really OTK-ish per se. It's just really aggressive with the benefits of defense as well. A defense that is very threatening to your opponent. So with that being said, do you have any closing remarks, Ray?
I do. Also, this is, just to be clear, this is not an OTK deck. If it were, you'd probably run like more Omnimon Blitz, right? But the reason why you don't is because if you have tie, and even if you don't, and you already have Final Zubagon Punch, again, the key to this deck, Final Zubagon Punch. Ideally, you'll always have the right line for it. With Final Zubagon Punch, is so versatile that you're able to swing, get 2 checks, restand, and now you have a 16k blocker during your opponent's turn. So it's not that you need to rush your game plan. You can take it slow, wait until their next move. After that, you're going to continue to chip into their security or, diminish their board and stuff like that. Until you're able to win. It's not an OTK, it's just you're going to be able to, you can OTK if you want, but ideally it's just you're going to be consistently chipping and protecting your own board at the same time. So
right, absolutely. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's my deck profile. I really hope you enjoy it. I've been playing it recently on Discord. Some people have been asking me about it. And it's fun. When it works, it's really fun. So try it out. Let me know what you think. Let me know what changes you would make. Would you do something different in your Omnimon line? How would you do the rookies? Because I'm stumped. And give me your feedback. Anyway, you guys have a good one and stay stacking.
stay stacking.